Have you caught my free masterclass, Write Your Novel or Memoir in 3 months without killing or embarrassing yourself? Because you can watch it right now by going to maryadkinswriter.com/masterclass. It takes an hour and you will love it. I promise. maryadkinswriter.com/masterclass. I hope you love it. Welcome to the First Draft Club, a podcast to help you write your book with joy, clarity, and maybe a few coffee stains. If you're working on a novel or a memoir, whether you haven't written creatively since 7th grade English or you have an MFA in creative writing, this podcast is for you. I'm here to help you fight through resistance and finish your draft. Today, I am answering a question that came up in a recent workshop, which is our live group coaching call each week in my course community. This writer wrote, "I'm struggling with serious resistance about starting my novel. I've had my notebook sitting on my desk for 2 weeks now and can't start on the first page. It seems more permanent to me than typing it. Every time I sit down to write, there's more I need to figure out before I can start. But I've already spent years working on plot structure and outlining, and I'm trying to move past this stage and actually begin drafting in the novel. What advice do you and others have for getting over this huge mindset issue?" Okay, I really related to this writer's struggle. I find the beginning to be the toughest part, which bugs me in a way because it sounds so cliche to say, the first step is the hardest. But I agree, looking at a blank page is completely terrifying. And once I've started, especially once I've messed up, once I've crossed something out, or just written something in a sloppy way, I have this feeling that comes over me that's very much like relief. I mean, it's like, okay, well, I've already screwed up, so I might as well keep going and keep screwing up. That kind of feeling. And it's oddly liberating, even as it's a bit disappointing. Anyway, the conversation that we ended up having around how to deal with this starting problem was really rich. And I've boiled that discussion down into 10 hacks for getting started when you are really fighting a lot of resistance. So here they are in today's episode, 10 hacks for just getting started when you're starting your story. Number 1, ask your characters how they want the story to begin. Okay, so this could take a couple of forms. You could write them a letter and then have them write back. You could skip the part where you write them the letter and just write a letter to you from them, telling you where they want the story to begin. Or you could just meditate on it, take a shower, go on a walk, sort of say a mental kind of prayer to your characters, asking them where they want the story to begin. Hack number 2 is to copy down the opening paragraph of a favorite book. So actually copy it down, put it in the notebook where you are writing your draft. I teach writing by hand, so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about writing in notebooks. But if you're writing on a computer, then in the document where you're writing your draft, type the opening paragraph of a favorite book. And then beneath it, or on page 2 of your notebook, start your own opening. This idea the idea here is to get the spirit of the paragraph that you love, of the other writer's work, into your fingers and into your mind as you dive into writing your own. And you do that best by emulating it, literally. Hack number 3 is to write the beginning of your book in a notebook other than your draft notebook. So to kind of trick your mind into just doing it. And I made a note here, the cheaper looking, the better. So like one of those old school cheap notebooks from Walmart or a yellow legal pad is great. I think it's Anne Lamott who said, "Nothing important was ever written on yellow paper." So choose yellow paper. Do something where it doesn't feel serious. It doesn't feel high pressure. And then you can tear it out and put it into your draft notebook. Same is true if you're writing on a computer. Just write on a scrap, write it on a Post-it, write it on a grocery to-do list, and then type it up in your draft. Hack number 4 is to write your beginning in 3 different ways so that your brain doesn't feel the weight of committing to just one of them. So in this case, you would actually, in your draft notebook where you're writing your draft, write 3 beginnings, just back to back, 3 beginnings. And then don't even force yourself to choose one. It's not like you have to circle the winner. Just keep writing. Once you've written all 3, move forward in the story and you can choose one later. Hack number 5 is to remind yourself that scene 1 will almost certainly need to be rewritten. So your job is just to get it down so that you can get to scenes 2 and 3, which you might actually keep. I don't say this to stress you out. Sometimes people get stressed out when I tell them they're going to have to rewrite their beginning. It's not to stress you out. It's just a reality of writing a book. Most people come back and rewrite their beginning. Hack number 6 is to remind yourself that before you can revise scene 1 or write scene 2, you have to write scene 1. You have to write scene 1 before you can do anything else. It's just the necessary evil. It's the thing that has to get done before you can move along. Hack number 7 is to write scene 2 first and then sneak back in and write scene 1. You could even write scenes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first and then sneak back in and write scene 1. Just skip ahead. If you really are paralyzed by the beginning, don't write the beginning. Hack 8 is to steal a lesson from my student Elise's Hebrew school, thank you, Elise, which is no Jewish book begins on page 1. That's a quote from Elise. No Jewish book begins on page 1. Well, it's a quote from Elise quoting her Hebrew school teacher. So the spirit of this one is to start your book on page 2. Just don't write on page 1 of your notebook. Hack number 9 is to check your mindset. So we say that we're so intimidated. We're so intimidated by the notebook. We're so intimidated by the blank page. Another way to look at it is, why shouldn't you fill this gorgeous notebook with your incredible story? Imagine the best possible version of your book filling these pages. For now, the notebook is blank, the pages are blank, but shortly, within a few months, maybe even a few weeks, they'll contain an entire world that you have created. And what a cool thing for the notebook. This is a very lucky notebook that it gets to be the notebook that will contain this story that you are bringing into the world. So hack number 9 is to check and shift your mindset. The notebook is not a thing that you are soiling with your story. The notebook is a thing that you are greatly enhancing with your story. It can only be so lucky. Finally, hack number 10 is to Google notebooks of famous writers. Just Google that, notebooks of famous writers. And check out the notebooks of Mark Twain and John Steinbeck and Jennifer Egan. It's really comforting, I think, to see just how messy they are. To see that they're just people making a mess on the page in the same way that you make a mess on the page. I'm not sure why this is so comforting, but trust me, it is. It's also just sort of a fun rabbit hole to go down. If you found today's episode helpful, I have a download for you. I made a list of the 10 hacks for you. So just go to hacks.maryadkinswriter.com. That's Adkins with a D like donut, writer like a person who writes, not a person who rides a horse. Hacks.maryadkinswriter.com, and you can download a list of these 10 hacks. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the First Draft Club. Subscribe and leave a review, and I will adore you forever. And if you want to submit your own questions and attend these sessions live, you can join our community of authors by going to maryadkinswriter.com. That's Adkins with a D, like donut. And if you want to attend my free masterclass on how to finish your book in 5 simple steps, just go to maryadkinswriter.com/masterclass. That's maryadkinswriter.com/masterclass, and you can watch it instantly. Happy writing! See you next week.